Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and I am Frank Williams. No, I am not Wendell James, and I know you see that up there, but we're going to get to him. So, this is our introduction into Mr. Wendell James, who has started his own show. I am Frank Williams. And so, we have as our guest Lizette Duke and Dukes, and also Keontae Penix. And so, first of all, we're going to go over here to our crew and start off with Mr. James. How you doing?
Doing great, doing great.
So tell us why you here today, man. What is it you got to tell the people? We see you starting a new show here.
Yes, I am. I'm starting a show for lifers coming home from prison. The reason why I'm starting this show because lifers, being an ex-lifer myself, we don't have a platform. You know, we're stereotyped. You know, society has gotten the idea that we go to prison, and we drive iron, and we become mean monsters in prison, and that's not the case. You know?
So, for the audience, what do you mean by lifers? Are we talking about people incarcerated in any department of correction for a long period of time? What are we talking about?
We're talking about people that's been incarcerated for long periods of time, committed certain crimes that warranted them to be labeled as a lifetime prisoner, that's worked to get their freedom back, to come home, be part of society. Talking about lifers.
Okay. So I see you have a couple of panelists here with you today. So a person who's your case manager, or
Yes.
was your former case manager,
Yes.
Lizette Dukes. How you doing?
I'm blessed.
It's great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
For us to set this man up with his first show. So
Yes.
tell the audience about you. Who are you? What do you do? And how did this young man end up being in your life?
My name is Lizette Dukes once again, and I'm a care coordinator for Health Right 360. How this man got into my life was, I guess I'll say 90 days ago. I picked him up from intake and told him to welcome to Lizette's Luxury Liner. He had no idea I was a case manager. I had the role of the van driver. And immediately he said he wasn't supposed to be in where we were going. He wanted to go home, but he had a program and he was certified. And so we talked all the way to 890 Hayes. And then I told him, okay, by the way, I'm a case manager and I think you're going to be on my caseload because you have ideas and I think people need to hear it.
So in other words, he came in trying to call the shots.
Calling the shots. Calling them.
He already had his plan together. He knew what he wanted to do.
Yes.
And so he was really not kind of understanding or comprehending what was really taking place at this time.
No,
right?
he didn't have an idea that they needed some foundation. He had been gone for 27, 28 years, and he didn't know the city anymore. Cell phones,
Right.
self-check at the grocery store, little things. And he had been in a contained city inside of a prison wall. So when you come out, you have a whole lot of different things to deal with. So he needed that foundation to know where he was going from that moment on. And he learned little by little that if you stay on the yellow brick road, you definitely get to Oz. And he's made it.
That's great. So we also have Keontae Penix here as well. So, and I want to do an introduction on her as well, or let her introduce herself. So.
Yeah, my name is Keontae Penix, and I'm a case manager for the Senior Ex-Offender Program. And Wendell James is actually interning with our program right now to create his own program, which he's up and starting to get running. So I'm happy to have him a part of our program. We work with women 45 and over and men 50 and over, helping them to reintegrate back into society, working with pre- and post-release ex-offenders. Yeah.
So, what has been a role of Mr. James since he's been at SCOP?
Mr. James has been shadowing one of my colleagues that I have there who is very knowledgeable of the resources and things that we have in San Francisco to connect the ex-offenders so they can be productive as they pave the way forward, getting out of incarceration. So he's been shadowing him so that he can learn what is needed to be a good case manager and learn the resources that are currently in San Francisco so that he can be able to provide them to the people that he's going to be working with, being as though he's going to be working with lifers who need a ton of resources and help as they transition back into the San Francisco community.
So, Mr. James, why lifers?
Lifers, I choose lifers because I'm an ex-lifer myself. I did 27 years and 9 months in prison, and I know the changes that a lifer goes through. A person goes into prison, and the majority of people that go into prison serving life sentences, they lose a large member of their families. People start dying in their families, and I know the pain and the suffering that they go through. I lost members of my family, and when you lose a member of your family, you don't mourn. I have mourned to this day to certain members of my family that I lost while I was in prison. So I know the changes that a lifer goes through. So my plan, my goal is to service the lifers that can't help themselves coming home from prison.
Well, I have to ask this question. I want Lizette to get some feedback to it too. For one, if you're a lifer and you've been incarcerated for a period of time of 10 or more years, right? Is it logical to say that a person has been working on themselves all that time, so when they do get out, they kind of know what they want to do with the rest of their life when they do get out? Is that normal or not normal? You know, I guess is what I'm really trying to ask. Is it normal, or you find that there is a need for a lifer program?
I find that there's a great need for a lifers program.
What about you?
I believe that there's a great need. And the reason I say that is they spend a lot of time preparing to get out. They have goals. You wouldn't think that someone that has been sentenced to life would have a goal, but they have goals. And some of them are getting out with 5 and 6 trades. They've worked inside of the penitentiary, but they've not worked with quote unquote real people. They've only worked with their crew,
Peers.
their peers. So they still have to prepare themselves to go out and compete for jobs with the people that have been competing in society for the last 25 years. So they do need a program to help them, get into that job and feel safe.
Okay, so to me, it's good to hear that for the most part that people not just wasting time or doing time, they creating time within self to improve themselves while they incarcerated. Is that what I'm hearing?
Definitely,
Yes.
definitely. In prison, people don't understand that when a lifer goes to prison, you go in prison for a period of time, and that time you can choose to either use it wisely or you can choose to use it unwisely. I chose to use mine wisely. I went to school. I got educated in school while I was in prison. So, like I said, a lot of people don't understand the life of we don't go to prison and drive iron and cause chaos. We go and we better ourselves because my thought has always been one day I'm going home, and I knew I was going home. So I had to work and better myself to make myself better than what I was when I came in.
So, how did the transition look for those who are getting ready to come out? How prepared are they really? Seeing that from what Lizette was saying was that it's really like peer-on-peer groups that go on within there. So it's the peers, right? But there's younger inmates in there as well. So there's also about to be lifers, right?
Exactly,
That's in this
exactly.
main population,
Exactly,
correct?
right.
And so what is the atmosphere like for the older ones who've been there a little bit longer than the younger ones who are beginning on a life journey?
Exactly. Well, what I did in prison, I became a mentor. People coming into prison, I took the young lifers and gave them what I didn't get when I came to prison. I gave them what do you want to do while you're in prison? How do you want to do your time while you're in prison? Do you ever think you're going home? If they have all that together, we can sit down, we're going to talk. We're going to put it together. We're going to put your plan together for the next 20 years. And that's what I did.
Okay, so Ms. Penix, when it comes to you working with older offenders, can you give us some of the pros and cons of what you done dealt with as far as them being able to make adjustments within society from being released, and some of the things that they're just not getting while they're in there to help really prepare them for when they are released, because many of them not as fortunate as this young man right here. So what have you, encompassed?
Very interesting and good question. Being as though that you tend to age 10 times faster than a typical human being as far as seniors go being incarcerated, they come out of society, a lot of them not only physically are not able to connect. It takes them a while to connect back into society, touching back on Lizette said, because there's so much new technology and things being done differently from than they were in the past. They have a lot of health issues that are not addressed that, stops them from actually moving forward with some of the things they may have goals with. And they have to have somebody or some type of resource that's able to help them through the process. So they're not like the young ones who say, I have my whole life ahead of me and I'm going to do this time and I'm going to get out. It's more so, okay, now my life is over. No one wants to hire me anymore. My family members that I had that were previously, supporting me are no longer here. They're either dead, gone, or, just drifted away. A lot of people have transitioned to another part of town, or so they have to return back to the community because they're on probation or parole, meaning that they're stuck in that county, in that city, not able to go back to their family if they have some. So trying to get a job, just trying to get back into society is very challenging for this population. It's not about just going back to work. It's maybe some of them have to think, what am I going to do? Will I be given back? So it's a very challenging question. There's a large scale on what it is that affects a senior when they're coming out of incarceration versus a younger individual who's being released, who has done some time. Like I said, nobody wants to hire them or any of that type of stuff.
So, Lizette, this question is for you then, seeing that you're working with an agency that's dealing with more on the parole side of the releasees from California Department of Corrections here in Northern California, as far as San Francisco, the Bay Area. What have you found interesting, I should say, as far as adjustments or that lifers has been encountering coming into San Francisco? And the reason why I'm asking that is because in San Francisco is one of the highest cities in the United States to live in, for one. So I could just imagine coming back, you seeing all these new high-rises, you seeing the different cultures and change. Fillmore doesn't look like Fillmore anymore, right? Bayview is really changing, you know what I mean? And employment isn't what it used to be. We're not in the industrial age anymore. We're in technology age, you know what I mean? And food prices are sky high. A bottle of water costs more than juice, ridiculous, right? And the rent is astronomical. And I can only imagine that someone, if I was in that position and just looked at my family don't live here no more, I may not have that comfort zone when my mom's still alive and live here and I go stay there. I'm in a transitional setting. Then I got to come out and find me somewhere to live, but rent start at $2,000 a month, right? But like Keontae is saying as well, I know I'm going on, and what Keontae is also saying, plus I got some health issues, right? I may not be employable on the side of doing labor, right? I can't go work for construction, right? What am I going to do? Have you encountered any of these situations since you've been working with this population?
You know what? I encounter it every day. I facilitate a life skills group. I facilitate a criminal addictive behavior group. So I'm able to talk to the men, and I also do compassion-focused therapy. So I'm able to talk to the men and get them to open up about some of the major things that they're afraid of.
Okay, first explain to us what each three of those groups are, and then go into your...
Okay, life skills. We talk about everything from social connections, how close you stand to a person and what it would mean. Education, what are your goals? What are you going to do with those goals? I take them on field trips. We went to the zoo. We go to the beach. The first time they've seen the beach in 20, 30 years. Being able to get on a bus and not have that PTSD affect them with people being close to them.
And what is PTSD?
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
I want the audience to really understand
Yes, okay.
that. Okay.
We do different things. Last night, we made popcorn balls. We have banana splits when they come home. Things that they haven't done, and so that they can feel human again. Because that's one of the big things is feeling human again. Having emotions.
Wow.
Things that they've stuffed for so long. Then I'll work on housing. Start applying for housing all over the city. And that's a big fear. You know, how am I going to pay for it? Or we'll talk about the price of things today. And I mean, it's amazing when they start to see this wasn't how it was when I left. You know, one thing that has stayed consistent, and we laugh about that, is that the street lights. When the street lights come on, everybody got to go home. That's one thing that has remained consistent for the last 30 years. If nothing else in their lives, they still know about street lights.
And what is the other two groups?
Criminal addictive
Can you
behavior.
explain what that is?
Criminal addictive behavior and thinking. It's a group that discusses the acts that got them where they were, how they can teach someone in their lives not to make the same choices, because it's about choices. And everybody has a right to feel human again, and regardless of what you did to get where you got, there's still hope.
And what's the third
The
one?
third group was compassion-focused therapy. And in compassion-focused therapy, the men are taught that regardless of what they've done, a lot of it is not their fault. And a lot of people are going to look and hear this and say, what does she mean it's not their fault? You're not to be blamed for how you were raised. If you were raised in a family and the whole family made drugs, sold drugs, and that was a part of your life, you grew into that. At 16, 17, you made the same mistakes or calls that your family told you to do, you end up getting a life sentence. You're not responsible for what happened to you, but you're responsible for how you react to the decisions you make. So in compassion focus, people are able to use their heart. They're able to express themselves from the heart, and all the groups are safe groups, meaning what's said in the group hopefully stays in the group. So men have been opening up about how they really, really feel about life in general today. So it's a true blessing for me to be able to work with ex-lifers. I've learned so much because, like Wendell said, people think that they put them in prison and they just lock them away and they don't do anything but lift weights. That's so much of a fallacy.
So that's fascinating for you as far as you working with post-release, right?
Yes.
So I want to double back to Ms. Penix, and because you work with pre-released
Yes.
inmates, right, and convicts. So, and I had to throw convict in there for a reason, because you know there's that terminology, right? You know, hey, I ain't no inmate, right? But anyway, you do pre-release as well. So tell me, what methods do you use or your agency use as far as working with inmates and convicts as far as on a pre-release of preparing them or helping them prepare themselves, right, to get ready even do time, those who may get sentenced and not coming out for a while and they about to do time, to those who are or may even get out? How do you work with them? What are some of the steps that you use when you go in?
Well, being an ex-offender myself, I try to put myself in the person's shoes a lot of the time, thinking about what it is that you want to do when you get out. Some people have no thought of what it is that they want to do, and giving them some type of vision and creating a treatment plan that they can actually follow, starting them inside with doing work inside to show that if you could do this in here, then when you get out, you're preparing yourself to do it when you get out. Is one of the first is a critical step, because it's hard to work with someone, to help someone. They have to want help first, because you can't make anyone do anything, right? So if you want me to help you, you have to begin helping yourself inside. If you can't do it inside, then it's going to be hard for you to make it when you get out. So inside, it's all about doing the work, connecting to the resources that they may have inside the jail, whether it's life skills, whether it's Thinking for Change classes, which is also based on choices. Whether it's you don't have a high school diploma and you need to go to work on getting your GED and going into 5 key charter school, which they have in San Francisco available to those who don't have their high school diploma, because these are the things you need in order for you to even reach employment. You need your high school diploma. So with this, a lot of the population that we deal with pre-release, a lot of them are at 5th grade reading levels, comprehension. So education, I stress education as the first thing, because you need that. That's like a fundamental thing that you need when you hit the streets. Also giving them hope, letting them know of the opportunities, the new things that are coming out. For instance, I'm just going to use a big one that you guys are maybe familiar with, Lyft, Uber. I have a lifer, someone who did life, who did about 21 years, and he's doing Uber now, and he's maintaining and having a positive and productive lifestyle. So giving them some sense of hope for while they're inside is how I work with people in pre-release, and it's on a case-by-case basis. So.
And I just hope nobody out there say, what, he worked for Uber, and then you try to get the man fired, and the man hasn't did anything wrong in over 20 years. I just had to say that part, right? Mm-hmm. You know, because we talking to our audience. Right, this is who our audience are. Right. So, and this is a very interesting conversation, because, even though I'm the host of the Wendell James Show, and I really want to stress that, and thank you for allowing me to be your host. Mr. James, we touched on some subjects, dealing with institutionalization, dealing with phases of adjustment when it comes to mental health, when it comes to post-traumatic stress disorder. We didn't talk, we really didn't kind of tap dance around depression and the different things that a person go through when they are taken away from families for so long. It's a type of an enslavement, so to speak, right? So, and Ms. Penix just touched on some of the things a person need to do while they're incarcerated. So tell me, what was your motivation? What was your drive to change your life, so you could be prepared and come out and say to Lizette, well, I don't even know why I'm here, because I started my own program. I'm the CEO of the Wendell James Show. I mean, you guys can't do me like this, right? Something changed in you while you was in there. It did. Tell us about that.
I had a awakening call January 10th, 1990. I remember the exact date. I got a shoe term.
And that is?
Shoe term is when you go to prison inside prison. Okay. You go to jail inside jail. So I went to jail inside jail. And while I was inside the hole, which was Pelican Bay Hole, the hole is where they put you
solitary confinement.
In solitary confinement, away from the society of prison.
The main population.
The main population. They put you away from that society and put you inside of a society where there is nothing but predators.
Okay.
Away from prison.
I wanted you to really talk that. Yeah. Right.
Nothing but predators. So the majority of people in Pelican Bay Hole are single cell, which I had a single cell. And I was there for 9 months. And during that 9-month period, I had a vision. I was in bed one night, and I woke up, which I normally do at nighttime, thinking about what I'm doing in here. What have I done with myself? And I got my head down, and I see this bug crawling in my cell. And I took my jumpsuit and I put it through the side of the door, and that bug became my cellie until he died.
So you telling me that you had the bug kill captive?
Yes, in the hole. Yes, in the hole. So that bug became my cellie. And I talked to the bug until he died. I made a promise to God and 3 of our people into that bug. If ever I got outside of this, I was never going to do wrong ever again in life. under no circumstances.
That's fascinating.
I was going to go back into that society of prison, and I was going to help people change their way of thinking.
So that was the beginning of the change in your
was the
life,
beginning. That
your
was the
spiritual awakening, so to
Right.
speak.
That was the beginning.
Okay,
Right.
so I want you to hit this a little bit on the prisons within the prison complex, such as the SHOE program and the whole, about the people that's being incarcerated. Tell us about the mentality of that, man. For example, what did the whole do to make you you focused in on a bug, you know what I mean, from not having the contact with human people? I mean, tell us about the psyche of that, man. What the prisons can really do to people's minds while they're incarcerated. And the second part of that, tell us, is there any rehabilitation within these prison systems?
You mean in the whole?
In the
or
prison
the prison
period.
system itself?
So first,
Anybody in prison that's rehabilitated, rehabilitate themselves. I became autodidactic. I became self-taught in prison. When I went to prison, I didn't know how to read or write. I was functionally illiterate. I had a bad speech impediment. I stuttered, I had to stop in speech and start over. I became to the point to where I taught myself how to slow down in speech and talk. So I became autodidactic. I went to school in Pelican Bay. I had a teacher named Miss Heiser. I went in her class the first day of school, and I told her I wanted to learn how to read and write in a stuttering state. And she couldn't understand that. You don't know how to read and write? I don't know how to read and write. So I began to learn how to read and write, and going to the main line of Pelican Bay after getting out the hole, it was chaos, straight chaos. And I knew I wasn't supposed to be part of this.
And what do you mean by chaos?
Well, like I said, you put in a fishbowl with nothing but predators. Predator is something that feeds
So
off.
are these convicts who are dangerous criminals?
Dangerous murderers.
Murderers, killers.
Yes.
Right? Are they all like from different areas
Different parts of California.
California? So is it like unsafe to have all of them in the same tank, so to speak?
No, it's not. It's not unsafe. It's not unsafe. You have respect for one another. Predator have respect for another predator.
Oh, they do.
Sure.
Oh, so there's an honor.
It's honor my sleeves.
Okay. Okay, so what I would like for you to do, going back to the first part of the question, is tell us about the mentality of the prison complex. What's the mentality of the effects that it has on a person's psyche? How do it make them feel? I mean, you there like day after day, minute after minute, because it was something that you just said a minute ago. You was like you was in that cell, man. It was just you. Right? It was just you.
But
all you could see was you.
right. But still being in that cell, just me. You have thoughts. You have dreams. And you have dreams of getting out of this. Making yourself getting yourself on the other side of the fence.
But the self-reflection that you was having when you was saying, I was sitting here and I was thinking about how I got here.
Right.
That alone was this a daily thought, like you keep reoccurring, like which that's part of PTSD. I'm saying that for a reason. But you steady reliving this, how I got here, and then you placed in solitary confinement, so you have no human contact really with anyone to even get what you feeling off your chest to heal. So, and I'm trying to get the public to get a true understanding of, from your view, I should say, what the men and women go through this and they're doing long periods of time. Because all of them wasn't given an equal share of time for the crime they did.
Right.
A lot of it was over exaggerated.
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say? And do that play a part in your mind too? Do you get angry? Do you have ill feelings?
I was totally angry because I was sentenced to 27 years life for a crime I didn't commit. I was mad.
That's what we want to hear about.
I was mad. I was angry at everybody and anybody that came in contact with me. I was upset. And I'm still upset to this day.
And how many years did it take you to get past that till you got to the spiritual awakening?
5 years into my incarceration. I woke up and realized that you got to stop doing what you're doing. You got to stop being angry at certain things, and you got to get out of this.
So let me ask you another question too. So seeing that you was in there for a crime that you didn't commit, right? So pretty much you was just set up, correct?
Yeah, I was set up.
You was either set up or you was at the wrong place, the wrong time. It was one or the other, which without getting into your reason why you was in there. But how many other people have you encountered since you have been incarcerated who went through similar things than you? Like they was in there for stuff that they really didn't do.
Several. I had a stepson that get out in 2000 for he did 20 years for a crime he didn't commit. Yeah, he's
So was that is this prevalent? This happening in across the nation? Like people just being incarcerated for crimes they didn't do?
Sure. You know, they have the thing of the racial profiling. You know that exists. And if you're doing something and the officers they don't get nothing about you, I think that you're a threat to society, or they're gonna get you up the street.
Okay. So before we end this show, because this has really been a great show right here. This is the beginning of the Wendell James Show. I'm your host, Frank Williams, and our guest is Lizette Duke and Keontae Penix. Lizette Duke from Health Right 360, formerly known as Walden House, and Keontae Penix from Baby Hunters Point Multipurpose Senior Services Senior Extended Program. So these two women professionals have been instrumental in the post-release of Mr. James, and Mr. James, from that part of his goals, and he's been inspired to start this television show. So this is the beginning, and the next show is going to be with him and his guests with a topic of their own without Frank Williams being involved in that, which we are very happy to be able that he came to the Senior Extended Program, and that we also been able to install some purpose in him as well, as far as his own vision to start his own program, because this is the population that he's going to be working with. So before we end this, I want you to just speak briefly, real briefly, because we got to end in a few seconds, about your program, what it's about, and when did you start it?
This program will be viewed in weeks to come. We'll be talking to lifetime offenders that's come home from prison to come back into society and be part of society as law-abiding citizens. We want to tell the public, we want to tell society that we're not throwaways. You can't just throw us away and we just sit in prison and rot. Every person that goes into prison with life, with the possibility of parole, are coming home one day. And with that, we want to give us to society and show you what we are doing now with our lives.
So you just heard it right there from Mr. Wendell James. And so you here to know that he's about to have some powerful shows going on. And that's it for today. I am Frank Williams. I'm your host. I would like to thank Lizette Dukes, Keontae Penix, and Mr. James for sitting in on his own show, so we can give him this great introduction to the public, and I'm Frank Williams. Thank you, and we out.